Shana Tova, good morning. Good morning to everyone who is on Zoom. We are coming together on this long day, whether you are fasting or you're finding other ways to bring meaning into this day. I appreciate your attention. And if you're on Zoom, if you can focus your attention, find a way to create a safe space, a holy space, a sacred space where you are, and really be as present as you can with us. And we include you in this growing minyan this morning. So as we begin, we're on 86. We're settling into wherever we are, taking note of what it feels like, what the air, the chilly air feels like on this fall morning, what it feels like to be with other people, even though we're masked, to be together, what it feels like to be in this bright space. As we join together, Matovu, page 86. And if you feel like singing in a round, that is always welcome. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti moretecha mkom mishkan kvodecha v'ani ashtaka v'evcha lifnei Adonai osi v'ani tfilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha Aneni be'emet yishecha. We're going to go right to page 125. So we have to do a quick warm up here, quickly getting back into that place. Perhaps you were here last night and you can settle in to this sense of reverence and awe as we feel the climax of this season of repentance, today, Yom Kippur, with the Holy One who we say is sitting on the throne of judgment. And our prayer, the rabbi's prayer, was that God move from the place of judgment to the place of compassion as we are seeking forgiveness and compassion. 125. Hamelech Yoshev al kisei ram v'nisa shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'katuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai laisharim navatehila b'fi yesharim titromam uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach ובלשון חסידים תתקדש, ובקרב קדושים תתעלה. Ishtabach Shimcha Lad Malkeinu. 126. ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו אל מלך גדול ותשבחות, אל ההודות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים. As you're able, I invite you to rise and come together as a holy community. Yitgadal yitgadash shmei Rabbah be'alma divrach irutei yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'beyomechon ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגאלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מברך, לעולם עולם אלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה ולעילה, מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו. 131. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. As we take our seats and greet the morning. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Yotzer Or Uvarei Choshech Oseh Shalom Uvarei Et HaKol Or Olam Be'otzar Chaim Orot Me'ofal Amar Vayehi. Go to 143, but for the moment, open up your supplement so that we could join together on page 4 at the top. Remembering this is one day, Hayom, this is it. Every day, creation is renewed. Wake up and see unfolding in the spreading light of dawn, the world and all it contains, coming into being, new, fresh, filled with divine goodness and love. Every day, creation is renewed, reflected in the great lights. We see a new day, one precious day, eternity. 143 at the bottom. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכחו לנו במהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכחו לנו במהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. So we're going to continue together on 148, but I want to take a moment to remind you this book was lovingly put together by my dear colleague, Rabbi Ron Egan, Zichrono Livracha, and he put it together with all kinds of readings and meditations and explanations. And I encourage you, as you take the time you need for this day, to follow those at some point. Or if there's some davening I'm skipping, to please go ahead and find your way through the machzor in whatever way makes this day full and meaningful and connects you to life. I'm going to read together in English on 148, and then we'll continue page by page till we get to the Shema together. With abounding love have you loved us, life giver, our God. With exceedingly great compassion have you cared for us, our source, our sovereign, for the sake of our ancestors who trusted in you and whom you taught the laws of life. Be gracious and teach us too, our nurturing source, compassionate one. Deal lovingly with us. Give us a heart to understand and perceive, to listen, to learn, and to teach, to keep, to do, and to fulfill all the words of your teaching with love. V'ha'erenenu b'toratecha, v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yachid levavenu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha. Lo nevush, lo nikalem, lo nikasher, le'olam va'ed, ki b'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanora v'atachnu nagila v'nismecha, nagila v'nismecha b'shu'atecha. V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot haaretz, v'tolichenu komemiut le'artzeinu, ki el poel Yeshuot ata, ki el poel Yeshuot ata, v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol, Selah, Selah, Selah be'emet, v'hodot lecha, u'yachedcha, u'yachedcha v'yahava. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'havta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shoch b'cha uv'kumecha u'kshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'sha'arecha. So we let go of our tzitzit. I'm going to turn us now to Mi Chamocha and preparing for the Amidah. We are on 159. The Amidah, our second of this long Yom Kippur day, reminds us that we are here for the purpose of reflection, contemplation, of looking into the mirror of our soul, seeing ourselves as we truly are, and imagining how we truly wish to be. How are we going to get there? We get there through community, through being together. So when we say all of these prayers, you may read them and say, well, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Why am I confessing to that? It's because we care about and for one another so much that we include ourselves in all of the sins. As connected as we are, we have the capacity not only to change ourselves, but to support others in their process of change. And so when we add the vidui, the confessional, to our prayers, let's not be judging other people, let's be judging ourselves and looking at all others with compassion, knowing that every one of us is responsible for something on that list, and that together we will come out of today with a joyful forgiveness and a new beginning. That's my introduction. I actually had chosen something for Mordecai Kaplan to introduce our Amidah. So I'll share that now. If we do not want life to appear useless and fatuous, we must live for some goal which is linked with the good of humanity, some objective which can fit into the kind of human existence that makes sense, that has meaning, that possesses continuity, pattern, design, beauty, that points to progress in that it moves in the direction in which the stream of history can be shown to flow. The scientist who lives for the discovery of truth, the inventor who widens the social consciousness of masses of people by bringing new experiences within their reach, the physician who labors to bring healing to another human being, the artist who opens our eyes to the beauty that is all about us. Each of these finds a zest in life through the wholehearted devotion to one's chosen objective. We enter into our Amidah with that sense of purpose. 159. Moshe uMiriam uVnei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabba ve'amru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot Osefele nora tehilot Osefele shira chadasha shivechu geulim l'shimcha al safat hayam yachad kulam hodu ve'imlichu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Tzur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael ufedechnu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Turning to 468. 468. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Vimotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים הבטחה פי בתפילה ובתחנונים לחלות ולחנן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני האדונים. זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. 470 אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. Continuing on 473. נעריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו הילי כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה איה מקום כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו איי 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 ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו הוא ייפן ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 474. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu. V'hu yashmi'enu berachamav shenit le'enei kol chai, liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu, ma'adir shimcha b'chol haaretz, v'haya Adonai lemelech hakol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקיש, ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול קדוש אתה. So as we continue on our own 475 until the end of the morning Amida 491, I want to draw particular attention to, in the midst of the prayers, reminding us how much love we have received, and to enter into our Amidah and our pleas for forgiveness and our self-reflection with a sense of love and compassion. Take your time.
Those who are standing, please continue to daven and complete your Amidah in your own time. For those who are ready to move on, we're going to go to page 500. Ekianu amecha be'ata Eloheinu anu vanecha be'ata avinu anu avadecha ve'ata Adonenu anu kehalecha ve'ata chelkenu yai-dai-dai-dai-dai 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 anu nachalatecha ve'ata goralenu anu tzonecha ve'ata roenu
Anu Chamecha Ve'ata Notrenu Anu Volatecha Ve'ata Yotzrenu Yai-da-da-da-da Anurayatecha ve'ata dodenu Anu segulatecha ve'ata krovenu Anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu Anu mamirecha ve'ata mamirenu Yai-da-da-da-da 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 So we turn to 502. I invite you to rise for the Vidui Ashamnu. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Evinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Yatznu Ra, Kizavnu, Latznu, Maradnu, Niatznu, Saranu, Avinu, Hashanu, Saranu, Kishinu, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu. Please remain standing on 504. So we read together in the italics and then sing together the refrain. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves. For our failures of truth, O God, we ask forgiveness. For pretending to emotions we do not feel, for using the sins of others to excuse our own, for denying our responsibility for our own misfortunes, for refusing to admit our share in the troubles of others, for condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves, for condemning in our parents the faults we tolerate in ourselves, for passing judgment without knowledge of the facts, for remembering the price of things but forgetting their value, for teaching our children everything but the meaning of life, for loving our egos better than the truth. Ve'al kulam Eloah salichot slach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves. For our failures of love, O God, we ask forgiveness. for using people as stepping stones to advancement, for confusing love and lust, for withholding love to control those we claim to love, for hiding from others behind an armor of mistrust, for treating with arrogance people weaker than ourselves, for condescending toward those whom we regard as inferiors, for shunting aside those whose age is an embarrassment to us, for giving ourselves the fleeting pleasure of inflicting lasting harms, for cynicism, which eats away our faith in the possibility of love. Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, slach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves. For our failures of justice, O God, we ask forgiveness for us and all humankind, for the sin of false and deceptive advertising, for the sin of keeping the poor in the chains of poverty, for the sin of withholding justice from the world, for the sin of racism, for the sin of denying its existence, for the sin of using violence to maintain power, for the sin of using violence to bring about change, for the sin of separating ends from means, for the sin of threatening the survival of life on this planet, for the sin of filling the common air with poisons, for the sin of making our waters unfit to drink and unsafe, for the sin of pouring noxious chemicals upon trees and soil, for the sin of war, for the sin of aggressive war, for the sin of appeasing aggressors, for the sin of building weapons of mass destruction, for the sin of obeying criminal orders, for the sin of lacking civic courage, for the sin of silence and indifference, for running to do evil, but limping to do good. For all these sins, O forgiving God, teach us to forgive ourselves and help us to overcome them. Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, slach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu. Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, slach lanu mechalanu, slach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu. As Rich Moshe makes his way to the bima, I invite you to take your seats, and he is going to be introducing and leading us in Adon HaSlichot, which is on page 5 in your supplement. And if Karen can come up to be ready for Avinu Malkeinu, Karen Samet, please.
Shana Tova. I have my reversible mask, Yom Kippur white, Jewish blue. So Adon HaSlichot, which we have sung together for many years now, is one of the most beautiful piyutim in the Sephardic Machzor. I'm so glad we do it here at HBT. It flows so beautifully with its steady rhythm and faithful rhyme. It's in the form of an acrostic, but unlike the vidui, which is an A to Z of how we have messed up, the A to Z in this poem is a list of God's merciful and positive attributes. We chant, Chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. We have gone astray before you. Be compassionate to us. And hope that with this piyut of praise, that God will be moved to be compassionate in deciding our fate. So there's chorus, I'm sure you know, but we all sing that together. Excuse me. חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, אדון הסליחות, מוחל לבבות, גולה עמוקות, דובר צדקות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, הדור בנפלאות, ועתיק בנחמות, זוכר ברית אבות, חוקר כליות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, טוב ומיטיב לבריות, הודיה נסתרות, כובש עוונות, לובש צדקות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, עולה זכיות, נורא תהילות, סולח עוונות, עונה בצרות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, פועל ישועות, צופה עתידות, קורא הדורות, רוכל ערבות, שומע תפילות, תמים דעות, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו.
Now, once again, I invite everyone to please rise. We just keep asking and asking for us to be forgiven. And now, Avinu Malkeinu, the ark is open, page 507. Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh manu leman shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, aferetz atoivenu. Avinu Malkeinu, stom v'yiltinenu makadrigenu. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei dever v'chara. Avinu Malkeinu, slach umachal l'chol avonotenu. Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema v'le'ana. Avinu Malkeinu, tadvenu b'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, tadvenu b'sefer v'le'ana. Avinu Malkeinu, tadvenu b'sefer parnas havachot. Avinu Malkeinu, tadvenu b'sefer zechut. Avinu b'sefer salicha u'machila. Avinu Malkeinu, atzmach lanu Yeshua b'karo. Avinu Malkeinu, ayakar Yisrael adach. Avinu Malkeinu, malei yadeinu mi'birchotecha. Avinu Malkeinu, v'avinu letzanu tfilateinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, aseh laman shimcha hagadol hagibor v'hanora shenikra aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chanenu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chanenu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masim. Asa imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Asa imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, chanenu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chanenu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masim. Asa imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Asa imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Karen. Take our seats as we turn to the Torah service on 517. Number of people need to be on the bima for our Torah service at various times. Beginning with Henry Barber, who is our Gabbai. Rich is already here. Nora Kaplan will be opening the Ark. Rachel and Eli Nenner Payton here to carry the scrolls. And Raquel. I'm glad to see you. Raquel, do you want to come sit up on the bima? Are you okay? So when we give you the scrolls, and we take them up to the middle, and we bring the scrolls in the middle. And we have more kids, which is what we want. To see the special Torah is all dressed in white for Yom Kippur. En k'mocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'en k'ma'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai oz la'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, avarachamim, heitiva v'irtzoncha et Zion, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Kivecha levad batachnu, melech elam v'nisa, Adon olamim. Vayhi bin Saharon, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, v'yachutzu oivecha, v'yanusu mesanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udvar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Lamo Yisrael b'kedushato. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Noseh avon v'pesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Noseh avon v'pesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Noseh avon v'pesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Vanit Now we're going to close the arc. Eli, this goes way down, way down. Okay? Lean it against your shoulder. Now you two can stand in the middle. Time to stretch. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh V'Norah Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti uneromema Shemo Yachdav Lecha Adonai Tidu V'Gevura V'Tiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Ki Ho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Ki Ho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz L'cha Adonai Hamamlacha V'Nitnaseh L'chol Rosh Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtakavu, Ve'ishtakavu, La'adam Raglav Kadoshu, Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtakavu, Ve'ishtakavu, Lahar Kodsho, Ki Kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Ramemu Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtakavu Lahar Kodsho. La 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 ya la 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 la. Go down when she comes up. Thank you, Mark. La la ya la 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 ya la 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 la. So you go down and he goes down. La 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 la. Go that way. Go that way. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Can come in? It's okay. Oh, yeah, they can come downstairs. I'll tell them.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right here like that.
As everyone takes their seats, our kids can go back to their programming that they have with Mara Ilana, who's in the back, for families with young children. And I'm going to turn it over to Rich Moshe at this point to introduce our Torah reading, which you'll find not in your machzor, but in the supplement, beginning on page 6.
My glasses are fogged up. Give me a sec. Hello again. All right. So, first 2 rules that I learned about public speaking. First, never follow a child in the program. Check. Second, never stand between your audience and the food. This is not Ne'ilah. Our reading today comes from the Torah portion Nitzavim, which means standing. For those who know Hebrew, you might wonder why the Torah doesn't use the word omdim for standing, which you know well from Amidah. It's because Nitzavim is a very certain, specific kind of standing. The word root is the same as for matzeva, which means monument. So it's a very rooted standing, fixed, at total attention. Since the people were renewing their covenant with God in this portion, they stood still, fixed to their spot, attentive. Stand. A simple word. Like Sauvignon Blanc, it pairs well with others. Stand tall. Stand by me. I stand with you. Stand out. Stand up. Stand together. This last sense, standing together, frames this parsha. In Nitzavim, Moshe addresses the people standing together. Each of the first 4 words speaks collectively and plurally. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem. You all stand together today. Atem, that's plural for you. We have no equivalent word in English, except in slang, like when they say in New York, aliyahs, or down south, where it's like, hey, y'all. The next word, nitzavim, is plural for standing. Hayom expands the collective sense across time, as it invokes both those standing before Moses 3,000 years ago and all the subsequent generations who have stood, including yourselves. And finally, kulchem, all of you. But also, following all these collective references, Moshe identifies who comprises the community. The heads and the elders, yes, but also the wood chopper and the water drawer, which Chizkuni, the 13th century French commentator, observes are the archetypes for the male and female laborer. In today's world, we'd say the truck drivers and the meat packers, and the daycare providers and the nurse assistants. The message, you are a single community, and each of you individually is included. Why this emphasis on the collective? The Or HaChaim, a 17th century Moroccan commentator, says it's to teach us that we are all responsible to and for each other. This collective responsibility pervades the Yom Kippur liturgy, most clearly in the Vidui. Ashamnu, we have trespassed. Bagadnu, we have betrayed. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sins that we have committed before you. Teshuvah generally is an inward journey, as we work to repair the parts of ourselves that are too judgmental, impatient, greedy, self-involved, petty, afraid. We focus on our interaction with others, with us at the center. But Nitzavim calls us to view ourselves as part of a whole. That view puts the big problems on your radar, the ones that are systemic: inequality, poverty, hunger, racism, oppression, deprivation of human rights, promotion of hatred and division. Those big problems can only be solved by action at the scale of the problem. But that big action, it starts with individuals making a stand because they see the suffering and injustice and decide that they simply cannot let it stand. If you think about the list of collective sins in terms of what you have done to contribute to the problem, you might consider it not your issue. But when you think of the whole community of the wood chopper and the water drawer, you see it as one big stuck Ferris wheel with some people riding high, but others perpetually at the bottom, where your privilege is the flip side of another's oppression. Then you might ask yourself, what can I do to alleviate the harshness? Interestingly, the formula of the Unatana Tokef, Tefillah, Teshuvah, Tzedakah, that we invoke to alleviate the harshness of the decree that death awaits us all, works also to address the systemic harshness. Tefillah, prayer, that is awareness of the system. Teshuvah, atonement, that is owning your place in the system, even if it is merely as beneficiary. Teshuvah, and tzedakah, that is fixing it. The word root of tzedakah is not charity, not compassion, not pity, not mercy, terms that implicitly place the giver above. Tzedakah comes from the word tzedek, which means justice and righteousness. Justice as in balancing the scales, righteousness as in making things right. Nitzavim's wake-up call remains necessary despite the events of the last few years that have made systemic inequality undeniable, with racist killings captured on cell phones and the unequal impacts of the Great Recession and the pandemic laid bare. Collective oppression persists, systemic racism lives on, privilege still reigns. It takes effort to keep the veil of ignorance parted and to live with the pain and dissonance of awareness. But in our hearts, we know that there are no innocent bystanders. As the Beatles sang, we must take this sad song and make it better. That's a direct quote, by the way, from their High Holiday concept album, Hey, Hey Jew. Helter Schmelter. Your mother should only know. In most years, Nitzavim is paired with its next portion, Vayelech, which means, and he walked, referring to Moshe humbly walking the Israelite encampment to say goodbye to his beloved people on the day of his death. True to this pairing, today we stand, pay attention, renew the covenant, and make our New Year's resolutions to make it better. Starting tomorrow, we walk, taking steps to move the world towards justice. That is why we talk of collective sin, and that is the meaning of collective teshuvah. Gemar Chatima Tova.
Gemar Chatima Tova. Shkach. So Henry is going to be calling people up, and again, we're on page 6 in the handout.
ויעזור ויגן וישאל כל החוסם בו ונאמר אמן הכל הוא גודל נוכבו לתורה אקרא לעמוד שמואל אדר בן אברהם ושרה צייה בת ניסן דוד ושנה רזל לעלייה הראשונה.
Oops, it's Vayelech. So
It's just a couple.
It's okay.
Okay, good.
Parent.
Very good.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kibanu le'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Adonai notein haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem roshechem shiftechem זקניכם ושותריכם, כל איש ישראל, טפכם נשיכם וגרך, אשר בקרב מחניך, מחוטי ביצך, עד שואב מימיך, לעברך בעברית, אדוני אלוהיך ובעלתו, אשר אדוני אלוהיך, קראתי ממך היום.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. I want to make a special thank you to Hillary and Forbes. If you don't know, they are chairing the search committee for an interim rabbi, and they have a big year ahead of them. So we send them off with gratitude. Scott, Jonah?
Ekra Mod, Hanan Zvi ben Joanna, Yeshaya ben Chana, Ora Noach, Le'Eliyah Hashniah.
Baruch et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher karvanu lavodato natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. למען הקימותך היום לא ליום והוא יהיה לך לאלוהים כאשר דיבר לך וכאשר נשבע לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב ולא איתכם לבדכם אנוכי קוראת את הברית הזאת ואת העלה הזאת כי את אשר ישנו פה עמנו עומד היום לפני אדוני אלוהינו ואת אשר איננו פה עמנו היום.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shkach, shkach. Ephraim and Nora?
Ekra Mod, Ephraim Yaron ben Aaron ben Devorah, Ruth Gila by Yosefa, Le'Eliyah Shlishi.
Get your balances ready.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher karvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'haya ki yavaru alecha kol hadvarim ha'ele habracha ve'hakala asher natati lefanecha v'hashivotai levavecha b'chol hagayim asher hidichacha Adonai Elohecha shama b'shavta Adonai Elohecha v'shamata b'kolo b'chol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom ata u'banecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha v'shav Adonai Elohecha et shivutcha v'richamecha v'shav ושב וקיבצך מכל העמים אשר הפיצך אדוני אלוהיך שמה אם אדוני נידחך בקצה השמיים יקבצך אדוני משם יקבצך אדוני אלוהיך ומשם ייקחך והביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר ישו אבותיך וירשת והיטיבך והרבך מאבותיך ומל אדוני אלוהיך את לבבך ואת לבב זרעך לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך למען חייך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah et emet v'hayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Okay, we have the fourth Aliyah on page 7. Eker Lamod, Yehudit Libat Bat Shia Hersh Vibasha, Ve'ezra Kelev Ben Yehudit Liba Ve'eliyahu Ruvain Ve'aliyah Harvi'it.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarach
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Olam Vaed Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher karvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'natan Adonai Elohecha kol halot ha'ela al oivecha v'al sonecha asher radafucha v'ata tashuv v'shamata b'kol Adonai v'asita kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzvotcha hayom v'hotircha Adonai Elohecha b'chol ma'aseh yadecha b'fri b'idnecha u'b'fri b'emtecha u'b'fri advancha latova ki yeshuv Adonai lesus aleich latov kasher sas avatecha כי תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך לשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו הכתובה בספר התורה הזה, כי תשוב אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam atah b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ezra. No, after 6.
After, okay. Fifth Aliyah.
Sarah and Joshua.
Sarah and Joshua. Eker Lamod, Sarah Rachel Ben Shabbat, Shabtai Ber Halevi Esther, Yehoshua Ruel Ben Caleb Rachel, Leah
Chamisha. Okay, she's going to show you the place. Tika mitzvah hazot.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarach
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Vaed Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
אמן. כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לא נפלאת היא ממך ולא רחוקה היא ובשמיים היא לאמור מיאלה לנו השמיימה ויקחי הלנו ושמינותיו ונעשנה ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור ויעבור לנו אל עבר הים ויקחי הלנו ושמינותיו ונעשנה כי קרוב אלייך הדבר מאוד בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai
Shmo.
noten haTorah.
Amen. Shkach. And Rachel, sit that down, it's easy to find. Okay, well, Abby and myself.
Right here, okay. Ekra la'amod, Aviel Hesha ben Tevya v'Leah Rachel bar David v'itat Tzviya le'Aliyah hashishi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamparah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kavanu le'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et hachayim ve'et hatov ve'et hamavet ve'et hara asher anochi mitzavecha hayom lahava et Adonai Elohecha lelech b'drachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav u'mishpatav v'chayita v'ravita u'v'rachecha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz asher ata v'shama l'rishta v'im yifna levavecha v'lo tishma v'nidachta v'yishtachavita l'Elohim acherim v'avadetam Yigati lachem hayom ki avot tovedun lo ta'arichun yamim al ha'adamah asher ata over et hayarden lavo shama l'rishta hayidoti vachem hayom et hashemayim ve'et ha'aretz hachayim v'hamavet natati lefanecha habracha v'haklala uvacharta b'chayim leman techiyeh ata v'zar'echa la'ahavat Adonai Elohecha lishmoa b'kolo u'edav kavo ki hu chayecha ve'orach yamecha lashevet al Adamah asher nishba Adonai lavotecha la'Avraham li'Yitzchak u'Yaakov lateit lahem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakach to all who had aliyot. We have another aliyah of the second scroll, but beforehand, we'll have our Misha Barach, our blessing for healing. And today we'll again go back to page 223 in your Machzor, singing the first passage. Then I'll invite everyone at once to share names of all of those we're holding in our hearts, all of those we are thinking of around the world who are in need of healing, and fervently offer our prayer by raising their names up. Then we'll sing the second passage, 223. Misha Berach avotenu, Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. May the Holy One bless and heal Devora Bat Chaya, who's undergoing surgery today, Levana Ronit Bat Zara, Tivona Bat Zara, who's undergoing surgery in a few days, Rivka Bat Zara, Tzipori Ochana Bat Zara, Nomi Batzalel Bat Chana Rezel, Claudia Harris, Yehudit Bat Esther, Elka Bat Shendel, Jan Alexander Katz, Eliza Bat Yehudit, Dini Yocheved Bat Selma, Ilana Bat Rachel, Gili Bat Esther, Chaya Vega Bat Shoshana, Serena Shapiro, Masha Yocheved Chaya Bat Tzvia, Rachel Bat Malka, Yocheved Basya Bat Sarah, Adam Ben Sarah, and Misha Berach Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Now, if everyone would please rise, I'm going to be moving Torahs.
Yamod Hamagbiya, Yamod Hagolel, Sefer Rishon.
Wait, Nir isn't the,
No, who's not Galila?
it's Seth.
Seth.
Is Seth here? Other side of the, here we are. Okay, we're all set now. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Ya lai 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 lai, ya la 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 la, ya lai 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 lai, ya la 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 la, ya lai 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 lai, ya la 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 la, ya lai 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 lai, ya la 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 la, ya lai 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 la 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 la, la 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 la, ya lai 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 la 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 la, la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la, ya la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Well done. So Torah is resting. You can take your seats. Our Torah reading for the second scroll continues on 539.
Ekra Lamod, Devar Bat Moshe V'Tzi Pareza, Hamatira.
Just push it. Great, thanks. Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kivod avodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ובעשור לחודש השביעי הזה, מקרא קודש יהיה לכם, ועניתם את נפשותיכם, כל מלאכה לא תעשו, והקרבתם עולה לאדוני, ואך ניחוח, פר בן בקר אחד, איל אחד, כבשים בני שנה, 7 תמימים יהיו לכם, ומנחתם סולת, גלולה בשמן, 3 עשרונים לפר, 2 עשרונים לילה אחד, יסרון יסרון לכבש האחד, ל7 הכבשים, סיר עזים אחד, חטאת מלבד, חטאת הכיפורים, ועולת התמיד ומנחתה ונסכם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We rise for the lifting of the second scroll. Push off, push off. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. La 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 la. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana, lefanav birnana. And take your seats. Oh, we've been able to honor, I think, all of those who became bar or bat mitzvah this past year. We are grateful for those who became bat mitzvah years ago, Sarah Schneider and Rachel Klepper, who came up and read for us. That's a goal that some of you may aspire to come back and read in years to come, as well as all of our Torah readers. And now for our Haftarah from Debbie Adams, and you'll find, I have it right here. You can follow it. It's after 5:39. Oh, 5:41, there you go. That's easy.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar b'nviim tovim, eretzav v'divreihem hane'emarim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzadek.
Amen.
Ve'amar solu solu panu darech harimu miksho miderech ami ki Amar Raham v'nisa shochen ad bekadosh shemo Marom bekadosh eshkon, Yetaka ushva ruach, Lechachayot ruach shefalim, Ruachayot lebnikayim, Ki lo leolam ariv, Velo lanetzach exo, Ki ruach milfanai ha'atov, Unishamot ani asiti, Bavon bitzo, Katsafti ve'akehu haster ve'exo, Vayelek shovav bederech libo, Derech raiti ve'arpaehu, ve'anchehu, Vashalem nihumim, lo velav, Borei nivsvatayim, Shalom shalom, larachok velakarov, Amar Adonai orfativ, V'hashayim kayom higrash, Ki hashkeit lo yuchal, V'yigrashu memav refesh vatid, Ein shalom, Amar Elohai l'shayim. Kera vegaron al takso, Hashafar horem kolecha, V'haged le'ami pisham, Uvet Yaakov chatotam, Ve'oti Yom yidroshun, V'da'at derechai yekpatzun, Hegoy Asher tzedaka asa, Umishpat Elohai lo azav, Yish'aluni mishpatei tzedek, Kirvat Elohim yekpatzu. Lam hatzamnu velo ra'ita, Aninu nafshenu velo teda, Hein b'yom tzomchem timsu chefetz, V'chol atzvechem tingosu, Hein l'riv u'matzah tatzumu, U'hakot ve'egrov reisha, Lo tatzumu chayom, V'hasmir b'marom kolchem. Kachazeh yihyetzo mevcharehu yom, Anot hadam nafsho, Halachot ke'admon rosho, V'sak va'efa yatzia, Halazeh tikrat tzom, V'yom ratzon l'Adonai. Halo zeh, Tzomev charehu, Hateach artzubot reisha, Hater agudot motah, V'shalach retzutzim chavshim, V'chol motah tenateku. Halo faros lara'ev lachmecha, V'aniyim merudim tavivayit, Kitir Aaron v'kisito, Umimtzacha lo titalam. Az yibaka kashachar orecha, Va'aruchatecha mehera titzmach, V'halach lefanecha tzidkecha, Kevod Adonai ya'asvecha, Az tikrav Adonai ya'aneh, Teshava ve'yomer, Hineni, im tasir mitochecha mota, Shelach etzba v'daber aven, V'tafek l'ra'ev nafshecha, V'nefesh na'ana tasbiya, V'zarak b'choshech orecha, V'afelatecha katzacharayim. V'nachacha Adonai tamid, V'hispia b'tzachtzachot nafshecha, V'asmotecha yachalit, V'hayita kegan raveh, Uchmotza mayim, אשר לא יחזבו ממעל. ובנו ממך חרבות עולם, מוסדי דור ודור תקומם, וקורא לך גודר פרץ, ושובב נתיבות לשבת. אם תשיב משבת רגלך, עשור חפציך ביום, קדשי וקראת לשבת עונג, לקדוש אדוני מכובד, וכיבדתו מעשות דרכך, ממצוא ארצך ודבר דבר. אז תתענג על אדוני, והרכבתיך על במת הארץ, והאהלתיך נחלת יעקב אביך, כי אדוני דיבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן האומר ויעשה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו.
אמן.
רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניך.
אמן.
שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסאו לא ישב זר ולא ינהלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קדשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד.
אמן.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הכיפורים הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וכיום לעד, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מוהל וסולח לעוונותינו ולעוונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, ביום הכיפורים.
Amen. Debbie, thank you so much for the beautiful rendition of the words of Isaiah. I'm now going to ask Raquel Rosenblatt to come and offer some announcements. And I didn't get a chance to thank Rich Moshe enough for that amazing Dvar Torah and for chanting the Torah with the Yamim Noraim trope, and also to Nir Madar for chanting as well. We are very blessed. We're blessed to have Raquel with us, feeling better today, we hope.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Mar Chatima Tova, Shana Tova, everyone. Wonderful to see you. Thank you so much, Rabbi. Many thanks to everyone who participated in the service today. I was a part of the process for thinking about the folks to choose for participation today. And now, of course, I can't remember every person's name, but it was really quite extraordinary to think about why we think about folks to be a part of the service and how special it is to have the ability to have the honor of inviting people to have honors in the service. This is what makes our congregation such a family and a community. So thank you, everyone, for making today so special, for making last night so special, for making last week and these entire High Holy Days so special. What Susanna said last night, I was on Zoom and I heard that. It's bittersweet to have this be, thinking of these lasts this year as the last for Rabbi Pensner, but the fact that we can be a part of that, I think that's really makes this a very special last Yom Kippur day one morning service. So thank you all for being a part of it. Thank you, Rabbi. And there's more to come. We have a full day ahead of us. We'll continue our special day of prayer and reflection with Musaf, which will begin at 12:30 p.m. today. Following that, if you're sticking around here at Temple, we have some really wonderful activities to reinforce the meaning of today. We have yoga, we have chanting, we have a Tikkun Olam discussion from 1:35 to 4:15 here at the Temple. Yizkor begins promptly at 4:30 p.m. Mincha services begin at 5:15 and Ne'ilah begins at 6:20. Havdalah and the final shofar sounding are from 6:45 to 7 p.m. We had planned to do it outside. Is that still the plan? I don't know with the weather, but we will figure it out and we'll be flexible and nimble. Our favorite words of the past 2 years, flexibility and nimbleness, yes. Immediately after that, we will have a break fast downstairs in the social hall, which will be really wonderful. Next Monday, October 10th, is Sukkot. We'll have services in our Sukkah at 10 a.m. and please join us for this wonderful fall harvest celebration. That same afternoon, Rabbi Pensner and Brian invite everyone to their home and Sukkah for a Sukkot open house between 2 and 5 p.m. Please RSVP to the Temple office by this Friday, October 7th for that lovely celebration. And as always, after this holiday, please remember to check the Temple's website calendar for full details about all our wonderful activities. See you later today and Gemar Chatima Tova.
Gemar Chatima Tova. Thank you, Raquel. I was sitting beneath a shady, leafy elm tree on a beautiful summer morning in the North Woods of Wisconsin. The grassy hill before me was still, undisturbed by the playful shouts of campers. Everyone was indoors somewhere at our daily morning prayers, but soon we would all gather again in the dining hall, the Chadar Ochel, for breakfast. But for now, I was alone under that tree. Why wasn't I indoors with the others? Well, it was one of those mornings when our Eda, our age division, had permission to do something called Tefillah B'Yachid, praying on our own. On those rare mornings, we could commune with God anywhere in the camp without direction, without even a book. And as I sat in quiet contemplation under that tree, it came to me. God is knowledge. Not a bad attempt at theology for a preteen. It felt like a very important idea to me at the time, so much so that I have held on to that moment for, lo, these many years. That was my first encounter with a personal prayer. And I'm sharing it with you as the frame for my personal offering this Yom Kippur. How did I come to this place, this tree, this camp, this idea that connected prayer and divinity in such a real way? I have to admit, I was a pretty serious kid. I was a good girl and I did what I was told. I kept my room cleaner than anyone in the family. And I tried to make my parents proud. I loved going to school. I lamented weekends and vacations. When I began going to Hebrew school 3 days a week in third grade, I was deeply engaged with the language, the stories, and especially the teachers. They were my heroes. Mrs. Gaba, who taught Hebrew grammar, telling us, This rule has a big but, not mine. And Mr. Benjamin and Mrs. Arbesser and Mrs. Shapiro all had foreign accents and big hearts. And Patsy Dunn, our youth group advisor, who was the mom to all of us and taught us how to serve our community. I loved the old building of our synagogue, Beth Shalom, in downtown Kansas City, with its gorgeous Moorish dome, the glorious bima, 2 stories high with beautiful wood carvings on all 3 sides, the magnificent Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark that was built into the wall as if it had been holding Torah since Mount Sinai, and the mysterious choir loft on the 3rd floor where singers were heard but not seen. I melted into the service on Shabbat and holidays where I went without my parents. The chants of our Odessa-trained Torah, of our Odessa-trained cantor, the rabbi who sang with him in harmony, the steady, comforting chant of the Torah and Haftorah that I seemed to just pick up, just listening. I was proud to be the last girl to celebrate a bat mitzvah in that downtown building in 1969 on a Friday night, when the growing synagogue was moving to a grand contemporary structure in the suburbs, built to look like an enormous tent of meeting in the wilderness. And I was in awe of my rabbi, Morris Margulies, Zichrono Livracha. I only found out years later that he had marched in Selma, that he preached from the pulpit against the Vietnam War, and that the Shabbat before the election of 1972, he urged the congregants to vote against Richard Nixon. What meant the most to me as a child, though, was he was the one who came to comfort my family after the death of my older brother, Stephen. Stephen died at age 16 of leukemia, just before he was supposed to go on a trip to Israel. I was only 6 years old. People didn't think kids should go to funerals at that time, and I didn't really understand what death was quite. So a few years after Stephen died, I was standing at the construction site for this new synagogue, watching people thrust shovels into the earth, and I began to cry. Something about those shovels awakened my long buried grief, and I realized Stephen is never going to enjoy this building. And the next time my rabbi saw me, he approached to offer me comfort. He was a wise teacher who nurtured my neshama, my soul, long before either of us dreamed that a woman could be a rabbi. My brother's death reordered the lives of everyone in my family. My siblings and I have been far apart in age and in distance for many years. And we're only now beginning to see how each of us suffered and grew as a result of that family trauma. And yet, for each one of us, the synagogue became a refuge as we witnessed our parents' grief without the benefit of resolving our own. On the walls of Beth Shalom Synagogue, you will see confirmation photos, whole confirmation classes with all 5 Pensner siblings. In fact, it is the only place, my brother reminded me, outside of our family, where you can find pictures of all 5 of us. My older siblings, Stephen and Michael and Betty and me, and Deborah, who came later and never knew Stephen or the grief. Each of us has found a different Jewish path that led away from that conservative synagogue and from each other in some ways. Michael became an ardent Reform Jew with a kosher home, sent his kids to day school, and has been president of not one, but 2 different Reform synagogues in the Cleveland area. Betty loved being Jewish, loved singing, and briefly served as a cantorial soloist in a small suburban congregation in Maryland, though she didn't give her children a Jewish education at all. And Deborah, well, Deborah's the one you've heard me talk about the most. She rebelled by choosing an Orthodox life, getting married and making Aliyah to Israel immediately following graduation from Boston University. And I rebelled too. I chose rabbinical school at a time when only 100 or so women had become rabbis. In Reconstructionist Judaism, I found a unique Jewish home that combined tradition and creativity, intellectual honesty and meaning. In rabbinical school, I had the pleasure of developing a theology that had first taken root under that tree at Camp Ramah. Writing my own theological treatise for a class we held in modern Jewish philosophy, I came to new understandings. God is our way of making meaning, seeking meaning, discovering meaning. And I take seriously the insight from Mordecai Kaplan that it doesn't matter whether we believe in God, we should live as if there is a God. So rather than defining what God is or what I believe, I realized that I could only describe the aspects of the divine as I experienced them. And to experience them, I needed to seek them out. I have found holy connections in the ordinary and the extraordinary, as an individual and in community, sometimes in Jewish time and Jewish places, and sometimes elsewhere, whether standing by the unceasing majestic flow of Niagara Falls or at the rim of the Grand Canyon, conscious of the magnificence of this world as it is, and of the short time and minuscule impact of my own existence here. Or leading a group of men and women friends early morning on Shavuot in Jerusalem, at the Kotel, at the wall, back where we were able to sing Hallel together in a place that separates men and women, a place that I found difficult. And yet I could pray in my own way in this ancient site, feeling an unspoken connection to the words, the melodies, the talit that covered me, and to all the people praying there at that moment, and all those who had prayed there for generations. Or holding the joy of a grandchild and the sorrow of my sister dying of cancer at the very same moment. In these encounters, I've been rewarded by unexpected insights that broaden my perspective. I seek the divine through rituals, prayer, meditation, and Torah study, groups, and with my Chavruta partners, all of which help me get unstuck, to see from different angles, and to connect to deeper meaning and broader horizons. What I find comes from a place beyond my own opinions, beyond my own rational yet limited mind, beyond my ego. When I cry out in prayer or listen for wisdom in Torah study, I find an inner voice urging me to stretch and to be my best, a force that pushes all of humanity toward justice, and a loving presence that encourages us to keep striving in hope and not to give in to habit or to succumb to despair. As Abraham Joshua Heschel once said, there is a transcendent meaning to the universe independent of our comprehension. Through Jewish life and practice, I developed a sense of purpose, the idea that each of us has a uniqueness, a reason for being here on this earth, and a gift to share. I was all of 22 when I first recognized that becoming a rabbi was my reason for being here, the place I could dedicate my gifts, the one true path that I wanted and needed to follow. Just as many of us have no clue what our marriage will look like decades later, I had no concept of where this path would ultimately lead me. I have come to appreciate just how important it was in my life to grow up in a vibrant synagogue that nurtured my heart and my mind, a place where I was known and influenced by caring adults, a refuge where I felt safe to be myself. And that is the kind of holy community that I've tried to recreate here at Hillel B'nai Torah. It has been the greatest privilege of my life to be your rabbi. I'm grateful every day for the many blessings of these past 27 years, entering into your homes and your hearts, rejoicing with you in your celebrations, grieving with you in your sorrows, and most amazingly, bearing witness to the many transformations that shape each of us through a lifetime. I'm grateful for the unending opportunities to step outside of the mundane, to peek under the surface of words, and to find the soul waiting just underneath, continually drawn towards seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. As I have borne witness to the power of holiness and of Jewish wisdom through Torah and mitzvot, I pray that you, each of you, has also had a peek into the transcendent life, beyond what it is we can know with our senses. When we touch the challah or touch someone touching the challah, when we all hold up the unfurled Torah scroll in our fingers as it's circled around the sanctuary, when we stand together in passionate protest, when a bar mitzvah student's eyes suddenly light up, or perhaps even tear up, as their minds are exploding with a new insight, an unexpected feeling of joy, and even a touch of wisdom. When we gather to plumb the depths of meaning in Torah study, hearing myriad interpretations from the past and sharing our own thoughts, steeped in our lived experience. When we appreciate the miracles of love and healing and generosity that occur in the midst of our community every single day. When we carry on traditions from the past and reshape them for the future. And when we join together in fervent prayer at the Ne'ilah service, knowing that the sun is setting and the day will soon end, and we'll all return home filled with a sense of meaning and purpose. And I am looking forward to each occasion in the coming year, to deepening our relationships, to teaching and learning together, and opening ourselves and our community to the possibilities awaiting us all in an uncertain and inviting future. To be witness to all of this is to receive a blessing from each one of you, a window into the divine essence, and a promise of a world repaired and redeemed through our common commitment to become the best we can be. May we all deepen our connections in this coming year, that we and this congregation continue to grow and learn and seek and find and heal and create together. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Amen. 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 Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. So now we're going to return the Torah scrolls to our own beautiful Arona Kodesh. We're on 566, and I'm supposed to call up Ilana Silver to open the Ark, Deborah Cronenberg, and Andy Lippman to carry the scrolls. And here they come. I invite everyone to please rise. For those who don't know, Deborah and Andy co-chair our school committee and work beautifully with parents and teachers, and especially with Hillary, to make this the special Chaverim school that we have. You'll stand in the middle. I'll stand in the middle. And you'll walk down those stairs and go up the middle, and then, okay, great. Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, odo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael, hallelujah, hallelujah. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. La 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 la, la la la. Ovnuko Yoman. 569. And as Susanna pointed out, all the paths of Torah lead to peace. Eitz Chaim hi lamakazikim ba v'tom peha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom Ashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. We are giving you a 10-minute break, and do with that as you will. You can make it longer, but those who want to daven Musaf, please be back in 10 minutes. And I hope to see all of you at some point. let's return to our seats now. Musaf is beginning soon. Please return to your seats. Kadesh, Kadesh, Yameinu Kekadam. I'm going to ask people who are staying to please return to your seats so that we can begin with an opening to our Musaf Amida from Dana Rubin, who was, I'll just tell the story. It was in June, I get this email that touched my heart so much. I've told every one of my rabbinic colleagues this story, that I got an email from Hannah Schleifer saying, would it be okay if I read Torah again this year on Yom Kippur? It's your last high holidays. Can I read Torah? And I was so moved and so touched. And then I got an email from Dana, her mom, not long after, and said, and can I do something in the service too? It really means a lot to me. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you. And we'll get started.
Lashana Tova. So, as the rabbi just gave my intro, on one of those very hot summer days, I was sitting thinking about all the transitions in our lives. Hannah had moved to New York. Elijah went to Spain again. My colleagues had changed jobs, and yes, Rabbi Pensner is retiring, making me feel a little disconnected, out of sorts. So I thought, maybe if I do something different this year, maybe if I do something during the high holy days, that will help me feel more connected. So I quickly texted these thoughts to the rabbi. Shortly, she responded with a resounding welcome, but then I got my assignment. I took pause. I reread the email. Yes, it did say, introduce the Yom Kippur Musaf service. I thought, this must be a mistake. How could I introduce such an important prayer? After all, the Amidah is the cornerstone of Yom Kippur and Jewish ritual, and it is very complicated. So I did what I usually do with any diagnostic dilemma. I did a little reading. I learned that this combination of prayers could be traced back to the destruction of the Second Temple, when religious observance moved away from offering animals to offering words and thoughts and prayers. And the High Holy Day Amidah, well, this is no ordinary Amidah. It is the third of 5. Did I count right this time? Yes, third Amidahs on this day, and of course, includes the Unataka Tokev, a haunting declaration of both the inevitability of suffering and the hope that things will be better by repairing ourselves, the world's, and listening for that elusive, still small voice. So here is my Yom Kippur offering. Well, as most kids, particularly kids in Peoria, Illinois, and Anshe Emet Temple, I saw Judaism through the lens of my family and my exposure to the temple. I was always a little anxious on Yom Kippur, though, for in my house, Yom Kippur was anything but holy. Stressful, yes, holy, no. Well, truth be told, there was a lot of yelling and maybe even some profanity. So being the temple president, my dad had to be at temple early, leaving my mom to get 3 kids and herself ready. She hated getting dressed up. She would yell, "God doesn't care if I wear heels," as we ran out the door. She much preferred a walk in the park. Anyway, dinner was inevitably late and rushed. The car ride was miserable, with daggers of blames for our lateness were thrown. As we came to temple to take our seats, we tried to look happy and calm, but I could see the stress in my mother's face as she hurriedly greeted our friends. My dad, on the other hand, immediately relaxed as he stepped onto the temple. It was as if he was pairing with some spiritual Bluetooth. He beamed with each prayer, absorbing the liturgy, the music, the connections. He sang at the top of his lungs, belting out songs as if he were on Broadway. He didn't care. He had become one with the service. And I thought, I want some of that. Sitting with my mom was a quieter connection. She taught us really to read the words of the prayers and to try to find meaning. And if we were bored, she showed us the meditations at the back of the Siddur. Find one that speaks to you, she would say. For in spite of her protests for the formality of temple, she too was very connected, leading the religious school, helping with food drives, and yes, getting us to temple. During the service, she would hold us tight during Yitzhak, having lost her mother at a very young age. But it was not uncommon for her to lead us in a good giggle in response to my dad singing, "Ah, yes, the days of awe." But despite these many years of Yom Kippur observances, Bat Mitzvah, a confirmation, youth group, I still do not know if I really know how to pray, where my prayers go, or what I may pray for. In my personal and professional life, I do often question the benevolence of God, or if a higher power even exists. When tragedy befalls a friend, a patient, or a loved one, I hear stories of tragedies and trauma that have so many layers, I really wonder how anyone can breathe. I struggle with understanding the emptiness that led to a teen to try to take his own life. Where is the divine power? How can anyone so young not choose life? I try hard to do no harm and maybe even help sometimes, but where do I find God? Why is my Bluetooth not working? On the other hand, I know I find wonder and inspiration and even holiness in the world, like my mother in nature, in people, in babies, in friends, in the adults my children are becoming, and in my husband. I know that some greater power has provided me with amazing friends to share my life in good times and bad. And even if my exact prayer has not been answered, I found answers and the support in the people around me. Climbing up a mountain or swimming across a pond on a glorious summer day, I find the words of the Shehechianu swirling in my head. Those times when the perfection of nature is intoxicating. Maybe, just maybe, I sense the presence of that small, still voice. More than anything, I learned from my parents that there are so many ways to embrace Judaism. I hope we can learn from them as we each, in our own way, connect to the words, to the melodies, and the sacred time set aside by the Amidah. For these thoughts, meditations, and prayers, these are our offerings that we bring to our Yom Kippur observance. And maybe, just maybe, we can all get closer to that still small voice.
You did it, Dana. It was great. Thank you. So let's all rise together with that intention that Dana set so beautifully, page 579. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Merabah, Dama divrachirte, V'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon, U'v'yomechon, U'v'chaye, B'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, U'v'zman karib, V'yimeru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbam Mevorach, Le'olam lo be'omayo. Yitbarach v'shabach v'par v'trumam v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dekudesha b'rihu leila u'leila mikol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran Belma Limeru Adonai. Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Vimotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Gibor Vanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shmo B'ahava, Zochreinu L'chaim, Melech Hafetz B'chaim, V'chodveinu B'sefer HaChaim, L'mancha Elohim Chaim, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ufoked Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מחכה חיים בחסד, לחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, מי כמוך הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. You remain standing, 582, as the ark is opened in this awesome moment where we consider all that you've heard yesterday, today, about how we need to face this reality of immortality and find our connection to life. ונתן תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ביום, ובו תנשא מלכותך, וייכון בחסד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת. Truly, you are the judge who calls us to account, the all-knowing witness. You record and seal, count and measure. You remember all that is forgotten. You open the book of memories, and it speaks for itself. For each of us, by our deeds, has put our signature to it. On 583, the second passage, all who have entered the world pass before you, kavakarat roe edro, like a flock of sheep. Kavakarat roe edro, mavir tzonot tachat shivto. Kavakarat roe edro, mavir tzono tachat shivto. Ken tavir v'tispor v'timna, v'tivkod nefesh kol chai. Kavakarat ro'ed ro, mavir tzono tachat tachivto, kevakarat roedro, mavirtsono tachachivto. V'tirtan v'chen gedacht doch kitzvalacho beria v'tichtov et gazadinam Kevakarat roedro, mavirtsono tachachivto. Kevakarat roedro, mavirtsono tachachivto. Kentavir v'tispor, v'timna, v'tivkod nefesh, nefesh kochai, kevakarat roedro, mavirtsono tachachivto, kevakarat roedro, mavirtsono tachachivto. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, uvyom tzom kippur yekatevun. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, uvyom tzom kippur yekatevun. Chama yavrun, v'chama yibareun. Mi yichyeh u'mi yamut, mi v'kitzo u'mi lo v'kitzo, mi v'esh u'mi v'mayim, mi v'cherev u'mi v'chaya. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, u'vyom tzom kippur yekatevun. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, u'vyom tzom kippur yekatevun. Mi v'ra'av u'mi v'tzama, mi v'rash u'mi v'mageva, mi v'chanika u'mi v'skila. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, u'vyom tzom kippur yekatevun. B'rosh Hashanah yikatevun, u'vyom tzom kippur yekatevun. Mi yanuach u'mi yanuach, mi yishaket u'mi yitaref, mi yishalev u'mi yityasar, mi ani u'mi asher, mi yishapel u'mi yarum. Uteshuva, utfila, utzdaka, mavirin et roa hagzera. Teshuvah, tefillah, tzedakah, repentance, prayer, and righteous deeds transform the harshness of the decree. You are all that we praise you for, slow to anger, easily appeased, for you do not desire a person's death, but rather that one turn from one's path and live. Until the day of our death, you await us, and when we return, you immediately welcome us, for you are the creator, and you know the nature of your creatures, that they are flesh and blood. Gihem basar ve'adam, in the middle, 10 lines down. Adam yesodo me'afar, v'sofo le'afar, v'nafsho yavi lachmo, yavi lachmo. Oy, mashul kecheres, oy, mashul kecheres, kecheres anishbar. Adam, 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 Adam yesodo me'afar, v'sofo le'afar, b'nafsho yavi lachmo, yavi lachmo. Ay, kachatzir yavesh, uchatzitz novel, ketzel over, ochanan kala, Adam yesodo me'afar, v'sofo le'afar, b'nafsho yavi lachmo, yavi lachmo. Ruach noshavet, uchavak poreach, v'chachalom yahuv. Adam, Adam, Adam. Ve'atahu melech el chai v'kayam. Please remain standing, though the ark is closed, as we continue this aspect of divine holiness found, the Kedusha, on 586. Naritzcha v'nakadishcha kesotziach sarpe kodesh hamakadishim shimcha bakodesh kakatuv al yad nevi'echa ve'kara zel zeh ve'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melot kol haaretz, Kevodo, Kevodo, Maleh Olam, Misharetav, Shoalim Zelazeh, Haye Mekom, Kvodo, Leomatam, Baruch Yomeru, Elai, la, 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 Elai, la, 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 Baruch, Kavod, Adonai, Mimkomo yifen berachamim v'yachonam hamiachadim shmo erev avoker b'chol yom tamid pa'amayim b'yahava shema omrim yalai la 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 yalai la 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 yalai la 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 yalai la 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 Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, V'hu Yashmienu Berachamav She'enit L'nei kol chai Liot lachem L'Elohim Yalai la 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 Ani Adonai Elohechem Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz V'chaya Adonai L'melech al kol haaretz ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה. Take this time for your own connections, whether it's in the Machzor up until 597, in the readings in the Machzor, in that supplement, or in quiet contemplation. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imeru amen. Those who are still davening, please continue. We are going to now turn to 604 and invite everyone to rise. So the ark is opened. I want us to consider this idea of prostration, which is so rare in our practice that it makes it even more awesome when we do it on Yom Kippur. And I want us to consider what it is we are submitting to. That is, when we say it is up to us to ascribe greatness, when it is up to us to bow and to worship and to put our heads on the ground, it's a way of saying we recognize that we are not complete on our own, that we need what comes from outside of us, from our community certainly, and from that force, that power that enables us to see the world as it could be, and enables us to make that commitment by prostrating ourselves, as I hope some of you will do with me, that we are truly dedicated to something far greater than anything that individually we could dream of or make happen. The ark is open. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה, ליוצר בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, נטע בתוכנו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. At the bottom of 605. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד. We take our seats in our version of the Avodah. That is, in our liturgy, which comes from the Torah reading of Leviticus that we have left, that's the traditional Yom Kippur morning liturgy, and it's a reenactment of what life was like before there was Judaism, basically. That in a time when there was a temple in Jerusalem where people prayed by bringing the best they had to offer from their farms, and the high priest was there to receive them and to offer atonement. It was a very different way of being, and yet there is great power in the ritual. So our practice is to have a time for guided meditation. And I'm letting you know if there's anyone who would like to daven, of course you can daven. If anyone has any reason they need to leave the room at this moment, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to take some time for me to take you back in time. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk was a Hasidic Rebbe who lived his whole life seeking ultimate truth, teaching about truth, aiming to live a life of truth. And all of his years of pursuing truth led him to this observation that speaks to this very moment on Yom Kippur. The essential point of truth was only reached by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, at the moment that he was standing at the Holy of Holies. That awesome moment took place in the Holy Temple once a year on Yom Kippur Day. When the Kohen Gadol entered the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh Kodashim, the sacred space in the ancient temple where no one else was permitted to enter, everyone's eyes were upon him. They waited anxiously in the temple court as he performed the rituals to atone for the sins of the entire community. And certainly he was filled with fear and trembling, yir'ah, because of the inherent danger in performing this ritual all by himself, exactly as prescribed, and in addition, carrying the weight of responsibility for the lives of every member of the community. So I would like each of you to contemplate being the Kohen Gadol. So if you would close your book, place it down, close your eyes, or look down toward the floor, and sit straight in these, what I hope are very comfortable chairs that allow you to take a big, deep breath and let it out. As you breathe in, feel your shoulders relax. Let your hands rest in a relaxed way. Feel your breathing in and out. Feel the rising of your chest and the sinking of your abdomen. And allow your mind to settle. Hayom, today, you are the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. You are dressed all in white. Smell the incense that pervades this small space. Feel the presence that fills the Kodesh Kodashim. Feel the weight of your responsibility for your people, for all who rely on you. You may notice that your own thoughts waft in and out. Undoubtedly, the high priest had thoughts too. But keep trying to bring your attention back to your breath so that you can find your own focus and experience these 3 confessions of the Kohen Gadol. Now is time for the first confession. You are standing all alone. You're inside a circle. The circle is large enough for you and no one else. You stand up straight with your feet firmly planted on the ground. You feel rooted in the earth, and the crown of your head reaches up to the sky. Think back on commitments you have made to yourself and to God. What have you fulfilled? Where have you fallen short? What have you neglected? Take a moment to bring your own offering. Ask forgiveness for the ways you have fallen short. Ask forgiveness for commitments left unfilled. Now listen for the response within. Listen for salachti, I forgive. The circle around you grows bigger. You are now among those who you hold dearest in your life. They are all dressed in white. They're standing together, along with you, feet firmly planted on the ground, crowns reaching to the sky. Look around at who is there. Look into your faces. What do you see in their faces? Think of those you have touched this past year. Who have you supported? Who have you caused pain? Who has supported you? Who have you neglected? Who has given you comfort? And now we make the second confession. Bring your offering for your group. Ask forgiveness for the hurts you have caused. Ask forgiveness for commitments left unfilled. Now listen for the response within. Listen for the salachti, I forgive. The circle around you grows so large, you cannot see the people on the edges. You're surrounded. You're one of a community, a neighborhood, a people, humanity. Some you recognize, many are total strangers. And yet, like you, everyone is dressed in white. All are standing together, feet firmly planted on the ground, crowns reaching to the sky. Think back on what your community has done this past year. How did you support your community? How did you neglect it? What did you contribute to its work for good? When did you sit silently? It's time for the third confession. Bring your offering on behalf of the community. Ask forgiveness for the hurts you have caused. Ask forgiveness for the commitments left unfilled. And give thanks for the gifts that others have brought. Listen for the response within. Listen for the salachti, I forgive. Soon we will all return to the Machzor and begin a series of slichot prayers, prayers asking for forgiveness. When you are ready to leave your Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, take your time and slowly open your eyes and come back to this room. When you do, hope you will look around and see that you are not alone. The rabbis teach that after the temple was destroyed, prayer took the place of sacrifice. On Yom Kippur, we strive as hard as we can to offer prayers with that same reverence, intensity, and intention that the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, brought to this dangerous and truthful moment in the Holy of Holies. Please turn to 639. Shema koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hus v'rachem, v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel b'rachamim uvratzon, et tfilateinu. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, V'nashuva, V'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu Kekedem. So we turn to 640, the bottom of the page. Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Ata Asveinu V'Atichenu, Ata Chlimenu, Ata Febrichecha Itanu. Draw us closer to your Torah, teach us your mitzvot, guide us in your ways. Incline our hearts to revere your name, expose our hearts to your love, and we shall return to you. V'nashuv elecha be'emet, v'lev shalem. ולמען שמך הגדול תמחול ותסלח לעווננו, ככתוב בדברי קודשך, למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווני, כי רב הוא. 641. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. Hey, I die, 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 die. Hey, I die, 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 die. Hey, I die, die, die. I die, 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 die. Hey, I die, 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 die. Hey, I die, 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 die. Hey, I die, die, die. Hey, I die, 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 die, die. I die, die, die. I die, 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 die. I die, die, die. כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו ועדיך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו קהלך ואתה חלקנו. אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צונך ואתה רוענו, אנו חרמך ואתה נוטרנו, Anu rayatecha ve'ata dodenu. Anu segulatecha ve'ata krovenu. Anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu. Anu mamirecha ve'ata mamirenu. Yai-da-da-da-da, 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 before we begin the vidui, we invited Josh Coben to share some thoughts to help us focus on the ritual we're about to do. Thank you, Josh.
Before I begin, I just wanted to thank Dana for her words earlier. And I wanted to point out that Dana from Peoria, Illinois, and I'm from St. Louis, not far away, the rabbi from Kansas City. I just wanted you to know that the Musaf is brought to you by these so-called flyover states of the Midwest. And more seriously, I wanted to really thank the rabbi for her offering today, and so many divrei Torah, so many sermons, eulogies that she's offered, and we're truly fortunate to have someone who has a rabbi who fills so many roles, has so many facets, a person of the word and of the deed, person of mind and heart. And just want you to know, I really appreciate that. So in a few moments, we'll stand once again to recite the vidui, the confession of sins that we punctuate with a fist poised above our hearts. First, we say the Ashamnu, the shorter, more general confession, followed by the longer and more specific catalog of the Al-Chet. Both are acrostics that follow the sequence of the Hebrew alphabet, with one or two transgressions listed for each letter. Both use the first person plural, we have sinned, we have fallen short. The confession is meant to be comprehensive from A to Z, from Aleph to Tav, and communal. But why answer for sins not ours? Is it because we are bound up in all the ills of the world, including those that we won't or can't prevent? No one individual commits all the offenses on the list, but each of us has done some of them. And as a collective, as participants and bystanders, we take responsibility. I did not create climate change on my own, but like many Americans, my dirty footprint has contributed more to the destruction than individuals living in much of the rest of the world. The Ashamnu, the short confession, is not a feature of the Yom Kippur liturgy alone. It is also recited by or for those facing imminent death, in preparation for the end of all agency on earth, when nothing more can be repaired. The connection to Yom Kippur is clear. This is a day when we consider both our morality and our mortality. Not knowing when death will come, we take stock of ourselves so as to better align our actions and our values. We are reminded that nothing is guaranteed but this present moment of consciousness, an instant that evanesces even as we try to grasp it. All talk of the future attempts to allocate funds we do not yet possess, on which we have no purchase. The only currency of value is now, the coin that melts in our hands, even as we spend it. For some of us, the vidui is a welcome chance to look within and examine all the ways that we, individually and as a people, have missed the mark. It allows us to put a finger or a fist on precisely where the problems lie and to resolve to do better. For others of us, though, the search for inner fault is all too familiar, a tick that seizes us many times a day. It is our surest reflex, a knee jerk with a hair trigger of exquisite sensitivity. Tap us anywhere and we will kick ourselves. What can the vidui tell us that we don't already know? Our inner judge brooks no mercy. We have passed concurrent sentences on ourselves so often that we are already lifers many times over. Teshuvah, like criminal justice reform, is not simply a matter of laws, courts, and prisons. It is a redefinition of both means and meaning. The age-old debate about the purpose of our penal system, punishment versus rehabilitation, pertains equally to the heart of the vidui and to our own hearts. Let's go back to that poised fist, hovering over our chest as we begin the vidui. Is it a stern warden, a belligerent jailer, an executioner? Since childhood, I have viewed the tapping of the chest during confession as an attenuated version of beating oneself up, a practice I am well acquainted with. Metaphor or no, such an assault on one's own body is all too convenient. There are many ways we can take out our distress on others, but we ourselves are an easier target. Ours is the only body, the only soul that we are sure to strike with point-blank accuracy. And if a slower penalty is more to our taste, the bottle of self-abnegation is always within reach. Some of us taking infrequent gulps, others steady sips, nursing our drink for the long haul. But the fist poised above our chest need not be a frightful one. It might be that of a concerned friend knocking on our door to see if we're okay. It could be the hand of a drummer tapping out an old, forgotten rhythm that revives us, waking us from our torpor, reminding us that we too are a joyful instrument, resonant, rippling the air around us. Or the tapping could be a signal, like sonar, sent below the surface of the ocean, sounding our conscience, our memory. The sea within us teems with more species than we have names for. It has kept or digested everything that was ever cast into it, from shipwrecks to seashells. Who knows what skeletal or swimming thing our signal will find today as we listen for a ping from the deep. Or maybe the knock at our heart is that of the census taker, wanting to see who lives here, or the social worker seeking to assess our needs. And where we find disturbance, we need not call in the police, the ones with the guns and batons. We can send in the counselors, the coaches, the caretakers, the guardians. We can marshal friends, parents, siblings, rabbis, scholars, healers. But in the end, when we recite the vidui, it is we who are standing before our own door. It is we who knock, and we who are the door, and we who answer.
Oh, gosh. Well, all of us waiting at that door, I invite you to rise now. We begin on 643 to knock, as Susanna has instructed us, gently tapping to see who's inside. I did it again. Somebody else started. Ashamnu, bagadnu, gazalnu, dibarnu dofi, hevinu, vehirshanu, zadnu, chamasnu, tafanu sheker, ay, 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 Yatsnu ra kizavnu latsnu maradnu niatsnu sararnu avinu pashanu sararnu kishinu orab. Rashanu, Shikatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu. Continue on 645. Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha bo'ones uvratzon, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'imutz halev, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'vli dat, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'vitui sfatayim, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'gilui arayot, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'galui v'sater, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'dat u'yonah, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'divoteh, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'onot lov, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yirveh, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yidet zimut, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'diyiteh, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'zilzul horim v'morim, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'zadon v'ishgaga, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'chozek yad, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'chilul Hashem, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'tumat sfatayim, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'tipshita, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'yodim u'lo yodim, Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, Slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'chaf shekazav, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'chaf shechad, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'latzon, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'lashon hara, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'matzal natan, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'mecha mishzeh, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'neshech u'b'marbit, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'netiyat garon, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'tziyach tzikatein, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'sikurayin, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'einayim ramot, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'izut metzach, Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, Slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'frikato, V'al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'flilut, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'tziyat ra, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha tzarut ayin, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'kalat rosh, Al-Chet shekatanu lefanecha b'kishut orah, החטא שקטן לפניך בריצת רגליים להרע, והחטא שקטן לפניך ברכילות, החטא שקטן לפניך בשורת שעל, החטא שקטן לפניך בשנאת חינם, החטא שקטן לפניך בתשומת יד, והחטא שקטן לפניך בתמהום לבב, ועל כולם אלוהיך סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוהיך סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. Before we close the service, while we're standing in this amazing group of people, I haven't seen a group like this in this space, on Musaf Yom Kippur for several years. And it's an opportunity, if you feel comfortable, to reach your arm or your talit around people who are near you and offer the priestly blessing to one another. And if you're not near someone, don't be ashamed to get closer. Come on up. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's repeat. Please repeat after me. Yevarechecha Adonai Vishmerecha Yair Adonai Panav Elecha Bichuneka Yisa Adonai Panav Elecha V'yasem Lecha Shalom. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So while Marty is up here with me, she's going to open the ark. So we can sing the word of the day. What's the word of the day? Hayom. But I'm going to do this in the way that I did growing up, not the repeating one that we've always done. Hayom. Tamtzenu, page 650. Hayom tamtzenu, hayom tevarchenu, hayom tegadlenu, amen, amen. Hayom tidrashenu letova, amen, amen. Hayom tichtavenu l'chaim tovim, amen, amen. Hayom tishma shavatenu, amen, amen. Hayom tekabel barachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu, amen. Hayom titmechenu bimin sidkecha. Hayom tisma v'tislach kol avanotenu. Amen. Amen. Now you'll take your seats, 652, to close, as every Amidah does, with the prayer that all that we have offered be received, be'et ratzon, that it be received in a desirable time. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, בעלמא דברך ירתה וימליך מלכותה. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמרה במבורך לעולם לא מעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילא ולעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צלקון וברכון לכל בית ישראל קודם אבוהון דיבי שמיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרמב"ם מן שמיה וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Gemar Chatima Tova. We'll leave for the break. And activities, I believe yoga is going to start in 5 minutes.